One of the greatest draws to the game Catacomb Kids is its immense difficulty and unforgiveness. The game is so difficult, in fact, that one might choose to avoid the bosses in the game unless absolutely necessary, and all of them arguably are, save for the twins or triplets on floor 10. This is understandable as every run ends in permadeath, and the only thing you keep is your game knowledge. But for those of you interested in running head-on into the darkness and almost certain death, I'd like to present valuable tips to defeating Catacomb Kids 4 bosses. To preface this, there are a lot of good tips on the wiki page which I'll leave in the description below that rhyme with what I'm saying. I'd just like to give my take with over 500 hours of playtime. I'm not claiming to be the best at the game, but I would like to share my experience if it would help even a little. For a point of reference, we're currently playing the alpha version 0.2.6b, and we'll be staying away from anything referencing the Plague spell. Right now, Plague has some pretty overpowered effects against all of the bosses save for the tank, and 4-bit has vowed to nerf the spell soon. I'd recommend playing without it until we see where it lands in order to prevent it from being a game-winning crutch. Also keep in mind there are so many variables that we won't be able to cover everything, but hopefully you'll walk away with a better grasp on how to hunt these giants. To traverse through the catacombs requires strong tactics with critical thinking, as well as the ability to execute your plan. You can think of yourself as a tiny pixelated Batman trying to take down the Justice League. To become the lethal force necessary to overcome the impossible, you must subject yourself to practice and willingness to fail. And if you aren't failing, you aren't really trying. Few people willingly throw themselves into great danger, but if you're a thrill seeker or have a strong desire to beat the unbeatable, then welcome to the team. At the end of each boss segment, I'll give you my personal guesstimate odds of winning with the format provided. Number 1. The Reaper. The Reaper thrives in mobility and ethereality. Choosing the battlefield is huge and more important than any other tip I could give, as he usually spawns in a wide open area with disappearing and reappearing platforms, which makes for a rough environment for combat. Make the environment your friend. Choose a smaller area with a small ceiling to keep him contained, but you'll want a clear running path in case he uses his off-screen dash attack, drawing lines on the screen which often crit and severed limbs. Before the fight, toss all items in your designated fighting spot far away as they fuel his Orbis Malus spell, and destroy all boulders he may come in contact with, as he will throw them in your direction when he's ethereal. Spells like Blink, Teleport, or even a well-placed portal spell may help to escape to your battleground once the fight begins. If you have the chance to fight around a pit of lava, crusher, or blade trap, you may be able to trick the Reaper into throwing himself into danger for some bonus damage. As the Reaper dances around, he has a bit of lag time between phasing through the wall and performing an actual attack. Use this time to strike repeatedly before he spins his scythe and sucks you in. Fighting the Reaper, or all of the bosses, with the concept that if you get hit once you're dead is a good mentality to have. While ethereal, the Reaper can be hit by just about any spell, but can also be hit by the Stampede ability, which is huge. It's not a necessity, but certainly does help with classes like the Wanderer that suffer for strength early on. If your character is heavily spell-based, or you're relying on an NPC, with Raised Dead or the Tinkerbot, having a Force Amulet in your arsenal will also be helpful to keep him away as your characters do the damage. If equipped with a spear, aim stab becomes vital. If you're in close to the Reaper and miss or stop dealing damage, you will start a spin, which will often lead to death. Keep swinging until your weapon breaks, and then swing some more till your hands fall off. Literally. A note of caution, if you do have unstable cure, you might prolong the fight longer than necessary. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, the Reaper has 3 phases of about 10 HP each. Once the 10 hit point threshold is reached, he automatically goes ethereal and changes color. If you need to heal and it affects the Reaper, you might push him back over one of the thresholds and prolong the fight. With luck, you'll be rewarded with a bonus spell and a lethal but costly weapon. I usually defeat the Reaper 80% of the time with these tactics. Number 2, the Grumble tank. I'm not going to lie, usually the first 5 floors I build my character with the tank in mind. He's extremely tough, and there are certain steps one needs to take to give a greater chance of victory. This is the hardest boss in my opinion, as your character is sort of strong, but not yet there. The primary spell to get for the tank is Lightning. Lightning with a trance perk will give you multiple shots to affect the tank and all of the grumbles he summons. Charge stars spawn every so often, offering a huge advantage to magic-heavy builds. If you're unable to get Lightning, the tank is still very beatable. You just have to be very careful when getting close. From what I see, you can go 2 routes with an anti-tank build, either anti-siege mode or acrobatic mode. In the anti-siege mode, you'll be hiding in the crevices in the wall, waiting for the opportune time to attack. To substantiate this build, you'll either need a shield, preferably with a magical effect, or the grappling perk to throw away the constant stream of grumbles at spawn. If you're able to get disarmed with the grapple, that'll be even more helpful, as grapple will disarm them on contact, and they usually don't actively chase down their weapons before running after you during this fight. Standing in the hole without either of these greatly increases the risk of the grumble soldiers landing stray hits on you. Also, staying high above the tank will keep you out of the way of the giant arrows that will sever limbs. Wait until the grumble population is low and preferably strike the tank from behind. You could hit in the front for some bonus damage when the giant ball and chain is fired, but it gets a little erratic when it's retracted, so be careful. If you're really lucky, it might get stuck on the floor or grumble corpses, allowing you to get several hits in. Don't ever feel ashamed of taking any advantage that is presented to you. In acrobatic mode, you will obviously go with the acrobatic perk and stay as airborne as possible to dodge the arrows and the grumbles themselves. This mode should be accompanied with a strong spell base, preferably with incantation and poise to reduce downtime and stun. Frost and slow spells are recommended with this build as they slow the tank and the surrounding grumbles, along with push to keep them at bay. To deal with the ballista arrows and cannonballs, a realized force amulet or reflection armor will be good at repelling them. In regards to the arrows, choosing heavy lift with trajectory will help a lot. It'll allow you to throw the arrows back at the tank and the soldiers. I believe a mirror shield will also help with this, but they're so rare to the point that I haven't really had a chance to test this reliably. Any way you can overheal prior to the fight or stock up on heal charges with a mana battery or an extra book will help immensely. Siphon may be good to remove some of the lava pitfalls as well if you devote yourself to the magic path, but they could end up becoming problematic later on in the Necropolis as it also destroys your heat sources. If you're clever and quick, you'll be rewarded with an extra leveling orb, lucky boots, and a wrench, which is awesome for the tinkerer or those suffering from magic deficiency. I give myself a 70% victory on the tank if in possession of lightning, preferably the poet, but less than 40% if any other method. Lightning is just that good. Number 3. The normal bear. This one is kinda open-ended. I've only ever killed the bear maybe half a dozen times or so due to meeting him infrequently, but I'll give you what I got. At this point of the game, your character should be quite solid and custom built based on what the game has provided for you, so the guidelines will become more vague. Unlike the Reaper, an open area is preferred so you have room to dodge and run. Once it starts raining icicles, you want that space to roll in and height to jump away horizontally from his ground slam and bite. Trance Cure is extremely useful as it can out the fires and prevent freezing while in effect. Being frozen could lead to almost instant kill with the multiple icicle drops. Trance Cure is also the best way you can control your limbs if they become detached, which tends to happen in the Necropolis. You never know how much you really miss having 2 legs until you're trying to dodge a giant bear claw with 1. Acrobatics is highly useful, as you will spend much of your time in the air attempting to hit this creature, and Air Dash is a fantastic follow-up to an acrobatic dodge. Again, the slow spell will give you time to react to his attacks, and valuable spellcasting time if you don't have incantation. Though he does trap you in a giant snow globe of ice at times, Blink or a set teleport spell may be used to escape. If there's any way you can become invisible and lead the bear to other enemies, you'll gather immense gratification at seeing you're not the only one who enjoys bear hunting. Honestly, I rather enjoy the bear beating up the enemies, especially the spirits, those guys. Lightning also dominates the bear, as its damage becomes increased with multiple targets. With these tips, you might just walk away perhaps a little scratched up, but with a bear arm to call your own. I give myself a 60 to 70% chance of victory using these guidelines. Number 4, the twins. These guys are awesome to fight. Odds are you'll have a little downtime upon entering, but if you're overly noticeable, like bright or loud, they may attack right away. There are very few tips I can give as far as using the environment, since it's pretty closed up and personal. Grabbing the torches off the wall and using Death Throw to disarm them has netted me a victory or 2. Combine that with a slight chance of fire and maybe a whirlwind spell, and that's about as close as you'll get to environmental help. Hopefully by this point in the game, your character is powerful enough that you can absorb or repel some of the pain they dish out. The twins cast spells like Break and Wizard Throw constantly, so maintaining distance is vital. I'm not entirely sure what their spell list consists of, but Break is by far their favorite. I tend to make it a figure 8 pattern around them if possible, and group them together to avoid flanking. At least one of them seems to always have reflection armor, and I've seen them go ethereal more than once. Siphon can actually take their ethereality away, so having Siphon with like slow or push or wizard throw might be useful. And again, Stampede will work on ethereal beings, at least for the time being. Raise Dead may be useful mid-fight if you're able to cast it quickly, and I hear the potion of Smite works wonders on the undead. You get this by mixing lightning and flame potions with alchemy. Spells like Lightning and Flame Wave are also awesomely effective, especially Tranced Flame Wave, as it keeps you moving. Weapon skills that cover large areas are also helpful as they are extremely mobile, like the Spear's Air Dash, Kick or Dagger Storm, and the Baseball Bat Swing with a Hammer. Once you slay a twin, they form into 2 other skeletons, which shouldn't be too difficult to overcome. Killing these 2 will, well, they'll give you personal prestige points. The weapons and armor they drop usually don't measure up to one finds in the Catacombs prior to entering. The somewhat sad part is that you might actually end up taking their weapons and or armor, as their break spells tend to destroy one's gear that they spend so long building up for just this moment. You'll then be rewarded by being able to either loop the game again, or redoing the floor, and going for a second twin skill. I've never gotten more than 2 in a row. I give myself about a 75% chance of beating the twins using this mindset. So there you have it, your good-spirited tips on taking out the Titans of the Catacombs. I hope this helps you on your venture, and if you guys have any other tips that I could use, or any tips that others may benefit from, please leave them in the comments below. Keep in mind certain elements are subject to change as the game is still being actively worked on by the developer. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the Catacombs. Take care.